the second day of creation. Taken literally, it paints a fascinating image. Here, the cosmology is turned inside out. While we generally understand the Earth to be a rather watery planet, hurtling through the vastness of space, in this telling, the Earth itself is a space made possible by the separation of great waters. The waters below become the seas and rivers that sustain life, and the waters above hold the life-giving rains. Your bulletin lists chapter 1, verses 9 and 10, but our reading begins at verse 6. Genesis 1, verses 6 to 10. Then the Creator said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." Thus there was a firmament, and it divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And Creator called the firmament heaven. So the evening and the morning were the second day. Then the Maker said, "Let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. And the Maker called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters he called seas. And Creator saw that it was good.
Our modern reading today is excerpted from a poem by Natalie Diaz. This poem, "The First Water is the Body," comes from her post-colonial love poem, which won the 2021 Pulitzer Prize in Poetry. Diaz is an enrolled member of the Gila River Indian tribe and a professor at Arizona State University. Her poem reflects upon what it means to be connected to a place, and challenges us to consider our own connection to the places we call home. This is excerpts from "The First Water is the Body." The Colorado River is the most endangered river in the United States. Also, it is a part of my body. I carry a river. It is who I am. Ha Makav. This is not a metaphor. When a Mojave says, "Inyech ha makav ch'ithum," we are saying our name. We are telling a story of our existence. The river runs through the middle of my body. So far, I have said the word river in every stanza. I don't want to waste water. I must preserve the river in my body. In future stanzas, I will try to be more conservative. The Spanish called us Mojave. Colorado, the name they gave our river because it was silt red thick. Natives have been called red forever. I have never met a red native, not even on my reservation, not even at the National Museum of the American Indian, not even at the largest powwow in Parker, Arizona. I live in the desert along a dammed blue river. The only red people I've seen are white tourists sunburned after staying out on the water too long. Ha Makav is the true name of our people, given to us by our Creator who loosed the river from the earth and built it into our living bodies. Translated into English, Ha Makav means the river runs through the middle of our body the same way it runs through the middle of our land. This is a poor translation, like all translations. In American minds, the logic of this image will lend itself to surrealism or magical realism. Americans prefer a magical red Indian or a shaman or a fake Indian in a red dress over a real native. Even a real native carrying the dangerous and heavy blues of a river in her body. What threatens white people is often dismissed as myth. I have never been true in America. America is my myth. America is a land of bad math and science. The right believes rapture will save them from the violence they are delivering upon the earth and water. The left believes technology, the same technology wrecking the earth and water, will save them from the wreckage or help them build a new world on Mars. Will we soon remember from where we've come, the water? And once remembered, will we return to that first water, and in doing so return to ourselves, to each other, better and cleaner? Do you think the water will forget what we have done, what we continue to do? Here ends the reading. Would you be with me in prayer? Spirit of life, fall afresh upon us. Open our hearts and our minds today. Amen. Water is life. Good, clean water creates community, as you can see in any nature documentary where all the animals gather at the same watering hole. Or look at a map of any country, and you will find that almost every city or village is located in relationship to a river, lake, or sea. Water is central to life. We're united by the fact that we need water to live. A lot of our body is made up of water. This shared need means that water also at times divides us. Rivers become borders, sometimes highly contested borders, or highly politicized borders, like our own southern border. And rivers, by their very nature, can draw us into conflict with one another. One of the incredible things about rivers is that they wash things away, carrying them downstream. Of course, this impacts communities downstream, and there are always communities downstream. A story I heard while living in Chicago was that the origin of the Chicago-St. Louis rivalry was not on the baseball diamond, but it was Chicago's engineering project that reversed the flow of the Chicago River. The river originally flowed into Lake Michigan, and as the city grew and industrialized, Lake Michigan was becoming noticeably polluted. So, through a marvel of engineering, they reversed the flow of the Chicago River so that it emptied from Lake Michigan into a new canal, eventually into the Des Plaines River and the Illinois, and finally the Mississippi, sending the pollutants away, downstream. Well, the people in St. Louis didn't like that much, as Chicago's cunning had mitigated its own pollution problems, but created a fresh crisis for St. Louis downstream. But, the story goes, St. Louis had the last laugh, because, clever bunch that they were, they took that nasty, polluted river water, put it into glass bottles, called it Budweiser, and have been making money hand over fist ever since. Water connects us. It challenges us to think about who our neighbors are. It challenges the notion of individual liberty and the notion of individuality altogether. Ancient literature of the Near East is replete with water stories. Like the Ha-Makav, like the Spokane, these were river people. The Hebrew Bible creation story envisions the world as a space created, lovingly hollowed out between two great bodies of water. They knew that all life was connected and dependent upon water as its source. Natalie Diaz, whose people understand themselves as carriers of the river, exposes the tension in our modern world. The tension is between a modern insistence on marginalizing myth and story in favor of hard science. Indigenous creation stories are often looked upon like something strange or quaint in the face of our modern scientific understandings. And yet there is a tension because while scientists and legislators and engineers may scoff at these stories, the stories turn out to be true. The more we learn about the ways we are connected to and impacted by the natural world and the way that we impact it, the more we realize that we all carry a river inside of us. There's no escaping this truth that water courses through us. The water we drink and take in through our food is the same water that comes from those rivers. What we do to the rivers comes back to us. When the river is gone, we too will be gone. This sounds like a sermon on environmentalism, but it isn't. Yes, we need to protect our rivers, and lakes, and water sources, particularly as we watch billionaires, who might as well already be living on Mars, systematically dismantle the agencies and policies tasked with protecting our shared resources. It's easy to imagine a future in which water is a subscription service run by private corporations, giving new meaning to the term streaming services. But that isn't what this sermon is about. No, this sermon takes for granted that the waters we depend upon are impacted by our presence here. Some of this impact is heartbreaking, and some of it is just the very nature of relationship and interaction. Nothing remains pure or unspoiled. I would argue that the myths of virgin land and pristine rivers are probably as dangerous as any. Everything is relation. Nothing is pure. This sermon, and maybe we shouldn't even call it a sermon, it's a question about what it means to live with and love a changing world. For the Ha-Makav people, leaving the river is not an option. They carry the river inside of them. This is a physical, biological reality. It is a political declaration, and it is a religious conviction. They carry the river. The Colorado may be dirty and disappearing, but there is no pristine river left to flee to. We must find a way to exist and thrive and be at home on a planet that is out of balance. We cannot wait until it is perfectly cleaned up to love it. We cannot love only the perfect places on it. National parks inspire awe, but the polluted stream remains just as worthy of love, just as central to our own well-being. We cannot leave anyone behind. There are no disposable rivers, species, or people. We all carry a river. We carry rivers and the glaciers that feed them, and the mountains they course down, and the desert canyons they carve over time, and the trees whose roots surely find their waters. We carry entire communities in our bodies. We are communities, overlapping in so many ways. I realize that some of you might be thinking of the implications of this. Amidst the doom and gloom prospects of climate change and mass extinction, indeed, that's often where my preaching goes, but I would ask you for just a moment to consider the possibilities of this. Natural systems are fragile, delicately balanced, but they are also tremendously resilient. And while we might imagine the world before industrial pollution, or dream of a future in which we have solved every environmental problem, the world we live in is the world alive inside of us right now. That is the world we must love. There is joy here. There is strength here. There is community here, and there is endless possibility here. Water remembers. Yes, it remembers the bad, but it is also capable of being transformed, of running clear again, of remembering what it is to cascade down a mountain. The world is changing. We are changing with it. That might be scary, but it has always been the case. And so especially in these times when the question of home and borders and which side are you on seem existential, it is worth remembering that in the midst of all of this, we live in our bodies. Our bodies are the homes we have. Our bodies are the miracles we behold. This is where worlds overlap. They are not simply our individual property, assets we own and use as we see fit. They are miracles that demand our reverence. Our bodies are male and female and everything in between and so much more. Our bodies are strong and disabled and queer and black and white and brown and poor and filled with microplastics and genetically modified food. They are soft and bony and wrinkled, and they are stunningly precious and beautiful. They are beloved. They are ours. They are home. Amen.